Captain Jake Morrison walked into the massive chamber of the Galactic Council. His boots made no sound on the smooth metal floor. Behind him, 3 human guards followed in perfect formation. Their faces showed no emotion. Their weapons stayed. HFY. The chamber was huge. It could hold 10,000 beings easily. Today it held representatives from 47 different alien species. Some looked like giant insects. Others resembled walking trees. A few had too many arms or eyes. All of them watched the humans with curiosity or amusement. Jake had been to this place before. He knew how these meetings worked. The powerful species talked. The weak ones listened. Humans were supposed to be weak. That was about to change. At the center of the chamber stood Ambassador Zexthara. She belonged to the Velthari Empire. Her people had been raiding human colonies for 3 years. They took food, technology, and sometimes people. When humans complained, the council did nothing. Zexthara was tall and thin. Her skin looked like crystal. When she spoke, a machine translated her words into different languages. The sound echoed through the chamber. "The human delegation has requested to speak," she said. Her voice carried no respect. They claimed to have an important message for the council. Laughter filled the chamber. It came from dozens of different species. To them, humans were a joke. They had only left their home planet 50 years ago. Most species here had been traveling space for thousands of years. High Counselor Morduk stepped forward. He was from the Hegemony, the most powerful group in the galaxy. He had 6 thick arms and stood 3 meters tall. His voice was deep and loud. "Let them speak," he said. "Perhaps they want to beg for protection again." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Jake felt his jaw tighten, but his face stayed calm. He had trained for this moment. He knew what was coming next. Jake walked to the speaking platform. The chamber grew quiet. Thousands of alien eyes watched him. He looked small compared to most of them. Humans always look small in places like this. He pulled out a datapad. The message on it was short. It had been written by the Human Defense Council. Every word had been chosen carefully. "I bring a message from the United Colonies of Earth," Jake said. His voice was clear and strong. "This message is for all species currently conducting raids on human territory." The chamber buzzed with whispers. Some aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Others just stared. Jake continued reading. "Human colonies have been attacked 47 times in the past 3 years. Ships have been destroyed. Supplies have been stolen. Citizens have been killed or taken prisoner." "We know all this," interrupted Counselor Vextai from the Cretan Confederation. She looked like a giant mantis. Her voice made clicking sounds. "Your colonies are weak. The strong take from the weak. This is the way of the galaxy." Jake did not respond to her words. He kept reading from his datapad. "The Human Defense Council has decided that these attacks must stop. We are giving all raiding species 72 Earth hours to cease all hostile actions against human colonies and shipping." The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens chittered, roared, and made sounds humans had no names for. Many were clearly laughing. The idea that humans could make demands seemed funny to them. High Counselor Morduk raised his 6 arms for silence. When the chamber grew quiet, he spoke. "And what will happen if we ignore this warning?" His voice was full of amusement. "Will you send your tiny fleet to fight us? Will you write us angry letters?" Jake looked up from his datapad. He stared. Directly at Morduk, his voice stayed calm and clear. "If attacks on human territory continue after 72 hours, there will be consequences." "What consequences?" demanded Ambassador Zexthara. "Your species has 12 warships. The Velthari Empire has over 3,000. The Cretan Confederation has twice that number. The Hegemony controls fleets too large to count." Jake put away his datapad. He looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching him. Some showed amusement. Others showed contempt. None showed fear. That would change soon. "The consequences will be proportional to the threat you represent," Jake said. "This is your only warning." The chamber exploded with laughter again. High Counselor Mordecai's deep voice boomed over the noise. "Tell your leaders their warning is noted and rejected," he said. "Perhaps they should focus on protecting what little they have instead of making threats they cannot keep." Other voices joined in. Counselor Vextai clicked her mandibles together. "Humans should learn their place in the galaxy. You are prey species, act like it." Ambassador Zexthara stepped closer to Jake. Her crystal skin seemed to glow brighter. "The Velthari Empire will continue taking what it needs from human colonies. If you do not like this, become stronger." Jake listened to all their words. He memorized every insult. Later, he would include them in his report. The human defense. Council would want to know exactly what was said. He gave a small bow to the council. It was the proper way to end a diplomatic presentation. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. His guards fell in behind him. The laughter followed them out of the chamber. It echoed off the walls and seemed to chase them down the long corridors. Jake did not look back. His mission was complete. As they reached their ship, one of his guards spoke quietly. "Sir, do you think they believed us?" Jake sealed the airlock behind them. He walked to the pilot's chair and began starting the engines. Outside, alien ships moved peacefully through space. They had no idea what was coming. "It does not matter." "If they believed us, Lieutenant Davis," Jake said, "what matters is that we gave them the chance to stop. They chose not to take it." The human ship pulled away from the council station. Behind them, the aliens were probably still laughing. In 72 hours, the laughter would stop. Forever. Jake opened a communication channel to Earth. A familiar voice answered immediately. "This is Admiral Kane. Report, Captain." "Warning delivered, Admiral," Jake said. "They refused to listen." There was a pause. When Admiral Kane spoke again, her voice was cold and hard. "Copy that, Captain. Return to base immediately. Operation Sledgehammer is now authorized." Jake smiled for the first time since entering the council chamber. The aliens had made their choice. Now they would learn why humans were called Deathworlders. Mary Johnson stood on her porch and watched the morning sky. 3 suns hung above the horizon of New Texas Colony. The air was warm and smelled like the native flowers that grew near her farm. It should have been a peaceful morning. Instead, Mary felt afraid. For 3 days nothing had happened. No attacks, no raids, no ships appearing in the sky to steal crops and supplies. The silence felt wrong. The Velthari had been raiding this colony for 2 years. They came every few weeks, like clockwork. Now they had stopped. Her husband Pete walked out of the house carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Mary and sat down in the chair next to her. His face looked tired. He had not slept well since the government announcement 3 days ago. "Any word from the patrol?" Mary asked. Pete shook his head. "Radio is quiet. Command says everything is normal." "But normal for who?" Mary sipped her coffee and watched the sky. Other colonists were doing the same thing. Across the settlement, people stood outside their homes and looked up. Everyone was waiting for something to happen. The question was what? A message had come from Earth 3 days ago. All colony worlds had received it at the same time. The Human Defense Council had sent an ultimatum to the alien raiders. Stop attacking human colonies or face the consequences. The message said humans were done being victims. Most colonists had laughed when they heard it. Earth was far away. Their navy was small. The aliens had thousands of ships and controlled most of the galaxy. How could humans threaten anyone? But then the attacks had stopped completely, not just on New Texas, but everywhere. Reports from other colonies said the same thing. The raiders had vanished. That had never happened before. "Maybe they are planning something big," Pete said. "Maybe they are gathering their fleets for a major attack," Mary nodded. That made sense. The aliens might be angry about the human ultimatum. They could be preparing to teach humans a lesson. Show them what happened when prey species got too bold. Far above the colony, something moved between the stars. It was too small to see with naked eyes. A ship, maybe. Or a piece of space debris. Mary pointed at it. "You see that?" Pete squinted. At the sky, where, there, moving left to right, above the middle sun, Pete stared for a long moment. Then he shook his head. I do not see anything. Probably just a satellite. Mary kept watching until the object disappeared. Something was happening. Up there. She could feel it. Meanwhile, billions of kilometers away, Admiral Lisa Kane stood on the bridge of the UHS Retribution. Around her, screens showed tactical information from across known space. Ship positions, fleet movements, target locations. Everything was ready. The Retribution was not like the small patrol ships most aliens had seen. It was a dreadnought. 2 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack planets. The aliens did not know ships like this existed. Humans had built them in secret over the past 20 years. Status report, Commander Brooks, Kane ordered. Commander Brooks looked up from his station. His fingers moved quickly over his controls. Data flowed across multiple screens. All task forces report ready, Admiral. The Cerberus fleet is in position around Valthari space. 120 ships in stealth mode. The enemy has not detected them. Kane nodded. The Cerberus fleet had been moving into position for 6 months. They traveled dark with all systems running silent. Each ship was equipped with the latest stealth technology. To alien sensors, they were invisible. What about the Wolverines? Wolverine. Battle group is holding at the edge of Cretan territory, Brooks continued. 80 ships ready for assault operations. Admiral Clark reports his Marines are eager for action. Kane smiled slightly. The Wolverine Marines were the best soldiers humanity had ever produced. They had trained on Earth under crushing gravity and in poisonous atmosphere. To them, most alien worlds were vacation resorts. And Ghost Squadron? Ghost Squadron has successfully infiltrated hegemony shipping lanes. Captain Rodriguez reports they have identified all major supply routes and communication hubs. The enemy. Supply chain is mapped and ready for disruption. Kane walked to the main display screen. It showed a map of local space. Red dots marked alien military positions. Blue dots showed human forces. There were a lot more blue dots than the aliens suspected. For 50 years, humans had let the galaxy think they were weak. A minor species with a small fleet and limited technology. They had played the part well. Colonists died in raids while human diplomats begged for help that never came. But while the diplomats talked, the military had been working. Building ships, training soldiers, developing weapons, waiting for the right moment to show the galaxy what humans could really do. How long until the deadline? Kane asked. Brooks checked his chronometer. 18 hours, 37 minutes, Admiral. Any response from the raiders? Negative. Intelligence reports continued military buildup in all 3 hostile territories. They appear to be preparing for increased raids rather than compliance. Kane had expected this. The aliens saw humans as prey. Prey animals did not make ultimatums. They ran or they died. The concept of prey fighting back was foreign to predator species. That was about to change. Signal all fleet commanders, Kane ordered. Operation Sledgehammer will commence exactly 18 hours from now. No early starts, no delays. When we move everywhere at once. Yes, Admiral, Brooks said. He began transmitting orders to ship captains across dozens of star systems. Kane turned to her communications officer. Lieutenant Palmer, open a channel to Earth Command. Channel open, Admiral. This is Admiral Kane. Retribution fleet reports ready for operation commencement. All task forces in position. Targets identified and locked, awaiting final authorization. The response came immediately. Admiral Kane, this is General Harrison. You are authorized to proceed with Operation Sledgehammer at the designated time. Show them what happens when someone ignores a human warning. Understood, General. Kane out. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of ship systems. Everyone knew what was coming. In less than 20 hours, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift forever. Kane walked to her ready room. She had reports to review and final preparations to make. But first, she looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien raiders were probably planning their next attacks on human colonies. They thought humans were helpless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back on New Texas, Mary Johnson saw another object moving across the sky. This one was bigger and moved with purpose. She called to her husband. "Pete, you need to see this." Pete came outside and looked. Where Mary was pointing, this time he could see it too. A ship, but not like any they had seen before. It was sleek and dark and moved without making any sound. "That is not one of ours," Pete said quietly. Mary felt her heart start beating faster. "Should we call the patrol?" Before Pete could answer, the ship was gone. It had not flown away. It had simply vanished. One moment, it was there. The next, it was not. They stood in silence for several minutes. Finally, Pete spoke. "I think we should get the emergency supplies ready." "Just in case," Mary nodded. She had the same feeling. Something big was about to happen. The quiet before the storm was almost over. Raid Commander Velkash studied the tactical display aboard his flagship. 12 Velthari warships moved toward the human colony of New Hope. It was supposed to be an easy target. The colonists had food and metal that the Empire needed. They also had no defenses worth mentioning. Estimated time to target. Velkash asked his navigation officer. 4 hours, Commander. The humans should be sleeping when we arrive. We can take what we need with minimal resistance." Velkash nodded. This was how raids always went. Humans were weak and slow. They could not fight properly, and their ships were primitive. The Empire had been taking supplies from human colonies for years without serious opposition. The deadline from the human ultimatum had passed 6 hours ago. Nothing had happened. No human fleets had appeared. No retaliation had come. It proved what Velkash had always known. Humans made empty threats because they had no real power. "Commander," called the sensor officer, "I am detecting some unusual readings ahead." "What kind of readings?" "Space distortion. Very faint. It could be natural phenomenon or sensor malfunction." Velkash walked to the sensor station. The display showed empty space ahead of them. No ships, no stations. No asteroids large enough to hide behind. Just the normal background radiation of interstellar space. "Run a full diagnostic on the sensor." "Array," he ordered. "If there is a malfunction, I want it fixed before we reach the colony." The sensor officer began running tests. Everything checked out normal. The equipment was working perfectly. But the strange readings continued to grow stronger. Velkash was about to order a course change when space exploded around them. The attack came from everywhere at once. Weapon beams appeared from empty space and struck his ships with devastating accuracy. Kinetic projectiles moving at incredible speed punched through armor like it was paper. Missiles materialized from nowhere and detonated against his hulls. "Shields up! Return fire!" Velkash shouted. His weapons officers triggered their guns, but they had no targets. The enemy ships were still invisible. Only their weapons could be seen, and those lasted only long enough to destroy another Velthari vessel. The cruiser Iron Claw vanished in a ball of fire. The destroyer Swift Wind broke apart under kinetic bombardment. The supply ship Golden Harvest simply disappeared when something struck it at near light speed. "Commander!" screamed the sensor officer. "Multiple contacts appearing all around us. They were hiding in stealth fields." The tactical display filled with enemy ships. Sleek human vessels appeared as their stealth systems deactivated. They surrounded the Velthari fleet completely. There were too many to count. Velkash stared at the display in shock. Where had these ships come from? Human military strength was supposed to be pathetic. These vessels looked more advanced than anything in the Velthari fleet. "How many ships?" he demanded. "At least 40, Commander. Possibly more. They have us completely surrounded." A communication signal came through on the standard diplomatic channel. Velkash accepted it, expecting to hear surrender demands. Instead, a calm human voice spoke. "Velthari vessels, this is Lieutenant Commander Tony Martinez of the Human Defense Force. You are ordered to power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded." Velkash activated his reply transmitter. "Human ship, You are outnumbered. Withdraw immediately or we will destroy you. There was a pause. When the human spoke again, his voice had not changed. It was still calm and professional. Commander, you currently have 7 ships remaining out of 12. In the next 30 seconds, you will have fewer. Power down your weapons now. Velkash looked at his tactical display. The human was right. 5 of his ships were gone. How had they been destroyed so quickly? Velthari ships were supposed to be superior to anything humans could build. All ships, concentrate fire on the nearest human vessel, he ordered. Every working gun in his fleet opened fire on a single human ship. Energy beams and projectiles struck its shields in a sustained barrage. The shields flared brightly but held. The human ship did not even seem to notice the attack. Then it fired back. A single beam lanced out from the human vessel. It struck the Velthari cruiser Stormrider directly in the engine section. The ship exploded instantly. The blast was so powerful it damaged 2 nearby vessels. Commander, said his tactical officer quietly, their weapons are at least 10 times more powerful than ours. Their shields are equally strong. We cannot win this fight. Velkash knew his officer was right. But accepting defeat from humans was unthinkable. The Velthari Empire had never lost to a weaker species. It went against everything he had been taught about the natural order of the galaxy. Another human voice came over the communication channel. This one belonged to a woman. Velthari fleet, this is Admiral Kane aboard the UHS Retribution. You have ignored a direct warning from the human government. Your raids on our colonies end now. Admiral Kane, Velkash replied. I am Raid Commander Velkash. The Velthari Empire does not take orders from prey species. You do now, Kane said simply. What happened next would be talked about in military academies for generations. The human fleet did not fire all their weapons at once. They did not seek to cause maximum destruction. Instead, they demonstrated their complete superiority with surgical precision. One human ship fired a single shot at the Velthari destroyer Nightblade. The shot did not hit the main hull. Instead, it struck the ship's weapon systems with pinpoint accuracy. Every gun turret was destroyed while the rest of the ship remained undamaged. Another human ship fired at the cruiser Starfang. Again, only the weapons were targeted. The beam cut through armor and destroyed gun mounts without harming the crew quarters or life support systems. Within minutes, every Velthari ship had been disarmed. They floated helplessly in space, their weapons destroyed but their crews alive. It was a demonstration of power that left no room for doubt. Commander Velkash, Admiral Kane said, your ships are disabled but intact. Your crews are alive. This is more mercy than you have shown human colonists. Velkash said nothing. What could he say? His fleet had been defeated without inflicting a single casualty on the enemy. It was the most one-sided battle in Velthari history. Human boarding parties will now take control of your vessels, Kane continued. You and your crews will be returned to Velthari space with a message for your emperor. All raids on human territory will cease immediately. Any future attacks will result in the complete destruction of your military forces. Velkash watched as human ships moved closer to his disabled vessels. Small craft launched from their bays, carrying boarding parties. Soon, humans would be walking the corridors of Velthari warships. The humiliation was complete, but there was something else, something that troubled him more than defeat. The humans had shown they could destroy his entire fleet easily. Instead, they had chosen to disable it. They could have killed everyone, but they had not. What kind of species chose mercy when they had overwhelming power? In Velkash's experience, the strong always destroyed the weak completely. It was the way of the galaxy. But humans seemed to follow different rules. As human marines boarded his flagship, Velkash wondered if his empire truly understood what they had been fighting. These were not the weak prey species the council described. These were predators who chose when to kill. And when to spare, the Velthari had made a serious mistake. They had ignored the warning of a species that could back up their words with devastating force. Now they would face the consequences of that choice. Across Valthari space, similar scenes were playing out. Raid fleets that had been preparing to attack human colonies found themselves surrounded and overwhelmed. Military bases that had stood for centuries were being systematically destroyed. Orbital platforms and shipyards were reduced to debris, but in every case, civilian populations were left untouched. The humans were not conducting genocide. They were performing surgery, cutting out only the military capability that enabled raids, while leaving everything else intact. It was a message that could not be misunderstood. Humans had the power to destroy entire species if they chose, but they preferred to solve problems with minimal bloodshed. The galaxy was about to learn what that meant for the future of interstellar relations. Hive Queen Zetclick received the news of Valthari defeat with disbelief. Her 6 compound eyes studied the reports from her intelligence drones. According to the data, the entire Valthari military had been crushed in less than 12 hours. Every raid fleet destroyed, every military base eliminated, every shipyard reduced to scrap metal. This information cannot be accurate, she said to her war chief. Humans are weak. Our scouts have confirmed this many times. War Chief Caxthul clicked his mandibles nervously. He had been reviewing the same reports. The numbers made no sense. Humans supposedly had only a handful of warships. How could they defeat an empire with thousands of vessels? Perhaps the Valthari exaggerated their losses, Caxthul suggested. They are known for dramatic reports when seeking sympathy? Zetclick hoped he was right. The Cretan Confederation had been planning a major assault on human shipping routes. 300 ships were already moving toward human space. If the reports about human military strength were true, those ships might be flying into a trap. Contact Fleet Commander Nixtal, she ordered. Tell him to proceed with extreme caution. Something has changed in human space. The message would take hours to reach the fleet. Cretan ships used quantum communication, but there were still delays across interstellar distances. By the time the warning arrived, it might be too late. Fleet Commander Nixtal was already approaching his target when space began to change around him. His fleet was spread across several light years, moving in a standard search pattern. They were hunting for human cargo ships and isolated patrol vessels. Easy targets that would not fight back effectively. The first sign of trouble came from his scout ships at the edge of the formation. They reported strange sensor readings, empty space that somehow felt occupied, gravity fluctuations that suggested large masses where nothing should exist. All ships maintain formation, Nixtal ordered. Scouts report status. Commander, we are detecting multiple gravitational anomalies ahead. The readings suggest large objects in stealth mode. Nixtal had heard stories about human stealth technology. According to intelligence reports, it was primitive and easily defeated. Cretan sensors should be able to penetrate any human cloaking device. Increased sensor power. Full spectrum scan of the target area. The enhanced scans revealed nothing. Empty space showed up as empty space. But the gravitational readings continued to suggest otherwise. It was as if huge ships were present but completely invisible to direct observation. Commander, called his tactical officer, should we change course, avoid the anomaly area? Nixtal considered this option, but retreating from empty space would make him look foolish. His subordinates would question his courage. The Hive Queen would hear about it. His career would be damaged. Maintain course, all ships to combat readiness. If there are human ships ahead, we will destroy them. The Cretan fleet moved forward in battle formation. 300 warships spread across space in a pattern designed to maximize firepower and minimize losses. It was a formation that had served them well against many enemy species. It would not save them from what came next. Captain Roy Thompson watched the alien fleet approach on his tactical displays. The Cretan ships moved predictably, following doctrine that was centuries old. They had no idea they were flying into the center of a human battle group. All ships report ready, Captain, said his communications officer. Thompson nodded. Operation Sledgehammer was proceeding exactly as planned. The Cretan had walked into a trap that had been months in the making. Human ships surrounded them on all sides, hidden by stealth fields that made them effectively invisible. Begin Phase 1. Target their command ships first. The attack began without warning. Human vessels deactivated their stealth systems and opened fire simultaneously. Kinetic projectiles traveling at relativistic speeds struck Cretan command vessels before their crews even knew they were under attack. The flagship of Fleet Commander Nixtal was hit by 6 tungsten rounds fired from different directions. Each round carried the kinetic energy of a nuclear weapon. The ship simply ceased to exist, vaporized by the incredible impact. Across the Cretan formation, other command ships suffered the same fate. Within seconds, the entire enemy fleet was leaderless and confused. Ship captains tried to coordinate responses, but their communication networks had been specifically targeted. Phase 2. Disable their engines, Thompson ordered. Human gunnery was precise beyond anything the Cretan had experienced. Each shot was calculated to achieve maximum effect with minimum waste. Engine sections were destroyed while crew quarters remained intact. Weapon systems were eliminated while life support continued functioning. Captain Susan Blake led the boarding operations from her assault ship. Her Marines were equipped with powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. They moved through disabled Cretan vessels with the efficiency of a military machine. Sector 12 secured, reported Sergeant Linda Foster. No resistance encountered. The bug boys seemed too shocked to fight. Blake was not surprised. The Cretan had evolved on a low-gravity world with thin atmosphere. Their natural environment was gentle compared to Earth. Human soldiers, products of a death world with crushing gravity and hostile weather, were simply superior in every physical category. Remember the rules of engagement, Blake reminded her. Troops, minimal casualties. These are prisoners, not targets. The human military had strict guidelines for this operation. Overwhelming force was authorized, but unnecessary killing was forbidden. The goal was to eliminate the Cretan military threat, not to commit genocide. Within 6 hours, the entire Cretan attack fleet had been captured or destroyed. 300 ships that had left home space expecting easy victories now drifted helplessly in human-controlled space. Their crews were alive but defeated. News of the disaster reached the Cretan homeworlds 12 hours later. Hive Queen Zetklik stared at the reports in growing horror. Her best fleet had been eliminated as easily as the Velthari forces. Human military power was far beyond what anyone had imagined. How is this possible? She demanded of her intelligence. Chief, we do not know, my queen. Our estimates of human strength appear to have been completely wrong. They have technology and numbers that exceed our projections by orders of magnitude. Zetklik felt fear for the first time in her long life. The Cretan Confederation had controlled this region of space for 2,000 years. They were apex predators who took what they wanted from weaker species. The idea that prey could fight back successfully was alien to their thinking. What are our remaining military assets? 2,000 ships in the home fleet, my queen, plus orbital defenses around our core worlds. But if the humans can defeat 300 ships so easily? The intelligence chief did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone in the command chamber understood the implications. If humans could destroy fleets at will, no Cretan force would be safe. A communication signal arrived from human space. Zetklik accepted it with trembling claws. "This is Admiral Kane of the Human Defense Force," said a calm female voice. "Your fleet has been defeated and captured. Your crews are alive and will be returned to you unharmed. This demonstration of human military capability should be sufficient to end all raids on human territory." "Human Admiral," Zetklik replied. "I am Hive Queen Zetklik of the Cretan Confederation. Your attack on our fleet was unprovoked aggression. Your fleet was intercepted while approaching human space with hostile intent," Kane responded. "Our intelligence services monitored your communications. You were planning to attack civilian shipping and isolated colonies." Zetklik realized that humans had been listening to supposedly secure Cretan transmissions. Their intelligence capabilities were as advanced as their military technology. How long had they been watching and waiting? "What are your terms?" she asked finally. "Complete cessation of all raids on human territory. Withdrawal of all Cretan military forces to your core systems. Establishment of a neutral zone between our territories. In return, your captured personnel will be released, and no further military action will be taken against your worlds." The terms were generous considering the humans had demonstrated they could destroy the Confederation if they chose. Zetclick had expected demands for tribute or territorial concessions. Instead, the humans seemed content with ending the raids. "I will need time to consult with the Confederation Council," she said. "You have 24 Earth hours?" Kane replied. "After that time, we will assume you have chosen continued conflict. The results will be final." The communication ended. Zetclick sat in her command chamber surrounded by advisors who looked as shocked as she felt. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted overnight. Species that had been apex predators for millennia were suddenly prey themselves, but the humans had shown mercy when they could have chosen destruction. That was something new in galactic politics. Perhaps there was a way to survive this change and even benefit from it. The age of raiding and conquest was ending. The humans had made that clear with overwhelming force. What would replace it remained to be seen. High Counselor Morduk stared at the tactical displays with growing dread. Two major powers had fallen to human forces in less than a week. The Velthari Empire was crippled. The Cretan Confederation had surrendered. Both had possessed fleets. That dwarfed anything humans were supposed to have. His 6 arms moved restlessly as he studied the reports. Each document painted the same picture. Human military capability far exceeded all intelligence estimates. Their technology was advanced beyond current understanding. Their strategic planning was flawless. How many ships do they actually have? He demanded of his intelligence chief. Intelligence Director Wexenol shuffled through data tablets with nervous energy. His usually confident demeanor had cracked under the weight of catastrophic intelligence failures. "We do not know, High Counselor. Our agents report human fleets operating simultaneously in 17 different sectors. Conservative estimates suggest they have at least 5,000 warships, possibly many more." Mordek felt his blood turn cold. The hegemony had the largest military in known space, but even they had only 8,000 ships spread across dozens of systems. If humans had comparable numbers plus superior technology, the balance of power had shifted completely. Where did these ships come from? Our scouts have been monitoring human space for decades. We would have seen massive shipbuilding operations. Unknown, sir. Either they built them in locations we never discovered, or their construction methods are far more efficient than we believed possible. Mordak walked to the great window that looked out over the capital city of Nexus Prime. Below him, millions of hegemony citizens went about their daily lives. They had no idea their entire civilization might be under threat from a species they had dismissed as weak prey. The hegemony had controlled this region of space for 5,000 years. They were the apex predator species. Smaller civilizations paid tribute or were conquered. The natural order seemed permanent and unchangeable. That order was collapsing before his eyes. "What about our allies?" he asked. "The Thorian Republic? The Centauri Collective?" "Both are requesting emergency meetings to discuss the human threat," Wexenol replied. "Several minor species have already offered to mediate peace negotiations." Morduk made a sound of disgust. Peace negotiations implied equality between the parties. The hegemony did not negotiate with prey species. They dictated terms to defeated enemies, but the humans had not been defeated. Instead, they had proven themselves capable of defeating anyone who opposed them. The traditional rules no longer applied. "Sir," called his communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from human space. Admiral Kane requests immediate audience with the High Council." Mordek considered ignoring the message. Accepting. Communication from humans would acknowledge them as equals. It would undermine thousands of years of hegemony superiority, on the other hand. Ignoring them had not worked well for the Velthari or Cretan. Put her through. The main display activated to show a human female in military uniform. She appeared, calm and professional, showing no sign of intimidation despite addressing the most powerful leader in the galaxy. High Counselor Morduk, Admiral Kane said, I am contacting you directly to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. The hegemony has been conducting raids on human territory for 4 years. These attacks must cease immediately. Admiral Kane, Morduk replied with as much dignity as he could maintain. The hegemony does not take orders from inferior species. Your recent victories against weaker powers do not concern us. Kane's expression did not change. High Counselor. In the past week, we have eliminated the military forces of 2 major powers. This was accomplished using less than 10% of our available fleet strength. I would prefer not to demonstrate what 100% looks like. The casual mention of vast reserves hit Morduk like a physical blow. If the humans had used only a fraction of their strength to defeat the Velthari and Cretan, their full military might was beyond imagination. What do you want? He asked, abandoning diplomatic niceties. Cessation of all raids on human territory. Withdrawal of hegemony forces from the neutral zone. Recognition of human sovereign rights in our established territories. These terms are non-negotiable. Morduk felt rage building in his chest. No one had spoken to a hegemony leader this way in living memory. The urge to order immediate retaliation was almost overwhelming, but the fate of 2 other empires served as a warning. Pride was not worth extinction, and if we refuse, then you will join the Velthari and Cretan in military irrelevance, Kane said simply. Your choice, High Counselor. The transmission ended before Morduk could respond. He stood in stunned silence, processing what had just occurred. A human admiral had delivered an ultimatum to the hegemony High Council and then dismissed him. Like a subordinate, sir, Wexenel said quietly. Perhaps we should consider their terms. The alternative appears to be total military defeat. Before Morduk could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the command center. Emergency lights bathed the chamber in red. Officers rushed to their stations as new data flooded the tactical displays. Report, Morduk demanded. Massive gravity. Distortions detected throughout hegemony space, called the sensor officer. Unknown vessels appearing in multiple systems simultaneously. They matched the energy signatures from human ships. Morduk watched in horror as the tactical map filled with enemy contacts. Human fleets had materialized around every major hegemony world. Military bases, shipyards, and orbital platforms were surrounded by vessels that had appeared from nowhere. How many ships? He whispered. Preliminary count shows over 3,000 vessels, sir. More are still decloaking. 3,000 ships. More than the entire Velthari navy at its peak. And these had appeared simultaneously across dozens of star systems. The level of coordination required was staggering. A new communication came from Admiral Kane. High Counselor, your response time has expired. Since you chose not to accept our terms, we are implementing them by force. Please observe. On Morduk's displays, human weapons began firing at hegemony military targets. But these were not the devastating attacks that had destroyed the Velthari fleet. Instead, they were surgical strikes designed to disable rather than destroy. Shipyards lost their construction capability but remained structurally intact. Military bases had their weapons destroyed while personnel areas were left untouched. Orbital platforms were crippled but not obliterated. It was a demonstration of precision that shocked Morduk more than raw destructive power would have. The humans could have reduced every hegemony world to ash. Instead, they chose to eliminate only military threats while sparing civilian populations. What kind of species possessed such overwhelming force but exercised such restraint? Sir, the tactical officer reported, human ground forces are deploying to all major military installations. They appear to be taking control of our defensive networks. Morduk activated his communication system. All hegemony forces stand down immediately. Do not engage human troops. Repeat, all forces stand down. The order went against every instinct he possessed. But resistance would only lead to unnecessary deaths. The humans had proven they could destroy the hegemony if they chose. Better to survive and adapt than to die for the sake of pride. Within hours, the mighty hegemony military had been neutralized. Not destroyed, but rendered powerless to threaten anyone. Human forces occupied key installations while allowing normal civilian operations to continue. Colonel Steve Parker stood in the command center of Nexus Prime's main military base. Around him, hegemony officers watched nervously as human soldiers took control of their equipment. The transition had been surprisingly peaceful once the order to stand down was given. "Remember," Parker told his troops, "we are not conquerors. We are peacekeepers. Treat the locals with respect as long as they cooperate." One of the hegemony officers, a young captain named Deathworlders, approached Parker cautiously. "Colonel Parker, what will happen to our military personnel?" Parker looked at the alien officer with something approaching sympathy. The young captain was probably wondering if he would be executed or imprisoned. On most worlds, defeated military forces could expect harsh treatment. "You will be retrained for peacekeeping operations," Parker replied. "The hegemony military will be restructured to focus on defense rather than conquest. Those who adapt to the new reality will keep their positions. Those who do not will find other careers." Deathworlders looked confused. "You are not disbanding our forces? Why would we? You know this region of space better than we do. You understand the local politics and cultures. We need that knowledge to maintain stability." It was a revolutionary concept in galactic politics. Conquerors typically destroyed or enslaved defeated military forces. The idea of retraining and incorporating them was unheard of. But humans seem to operate by different rules. They possess the power to impose their will through force, but preferred to achieve their goals through cooperation when possible. High Counselor Morduk received a final communication from Admiral Kane that evening. "High Counselor, hegemony military forces have been neutralized with minimal casualties. Your personnel will be treated according to galactic conventions for prisoners of war. Those who accept the new order will be released to serve in restructured peacekeeping forces." "What is to become of the hegemony?" Morduk asked. "That depends on your choices going F.